Hey everyone, thank you for joining me for College Playground. I'm your host, Simone. Today I am joined with football player Ramone Atkins. He is currently playing in the IFL. He started as a young child, all the way through high school, college, and now in a professional league. So thank you so much for joining me.
Of course, thanks for having me.
So I'm trying to think where we should start. I know you played football, you played basketball in high school. When did you actually start playing football? Like what age?
4 or 5 years old. My mom said I had the ball in my hand when I was 3. So, but definitely 5 of what I can remember.
And when did you realize football was the one you want to stick with? Like, I know you play multiple sports. Did you play anything else aside from basketball and football?
No, too many of us in the house, so had to do the same things together.
Yeah, I know, because if you don't know, he has two brothers, an older and a younger brother, and all played football. So how was that, like, growing up with brothers and you guys all playing the same sports? Was it competitive? Did you guys all kind of stay in your own lane, or how was that?
Oh, it was always competitive. Didn't matter what age we were playing, we always played up because we had to. If my brother was out playing with his friends, we wanted to be there with him. We had to play against grown-ups sometimes. Didn't really matter. So that kind of helped increase our levels of competition because we always had to play up. But playing against each other, it was always fun, always competitive, always, ended up in a fight because that's what boys do.
Right. And so I know you came to Maryville, but you didn't start at Maryville. You went to Bowman, right, beforehand? No?
No, what?
West Side. That's right. I'm sorry. West Side. So West Side, for those who are unfamiliar with Maryville, West Side, this is in Indiana. So Maryville is Maryville, Indiana. West Side is in Gary, Indiana. So what made you make the decision to go from West Side to Maryville?
Uh, just how our family was moving at the time. It was moving more south, out of Gary. And, the rules were different. Like you had to go to the school in the area, in the region that you were in. I hear now that they're different. You can kind of cross the borders and go anywhere.
Oh, really?
But that's what it was for us back then.
Right. Yeah, definitely understandable, because I transferred to Maryville the very last month of my sophomore year. So I spent 2 years there coming from Illinois, and the athletics and the school systems were so different, just transitioning over to the two. So football is what you stuck with. When did you realize, all right, I'm actually good enough to go to the next level in football?
It was that transition from sophomore to junior year. After my junior season, it kind of solidified it for me. Had a rocky roller coaster sophomore year, still put up decent numbers, but the ratios, they weren't what colleges were looking for. But after I enhanced, on my skills and my, used my assets and came out with the stats that I did my junior year, I'm like, okay, schools have to be knocking now, and they wouldn't knock like I would want them to, but was able to get my foot in the door in a couple of places.
Now, you, after graduating, you went to two schools, I believe, right? Or you went to Alcorn. I know that was one of the schools, which is a big school, because I'm in the South now too. I'm in Louisiana, which is right next door. So I'm gonna ask you, did you play different positions when you got to college? Because I know you, at one point you were going for quarterback, and a lot of times they'll bait you. Sometimes I've heard people say, they'll say, "Oh, come, we want you to play this position," and then you get there, and then they're like, "Oh, play this position." Did you ever have that experience?
A little bit, not really until I transferred out of Alcorn. So yeah, did start at Alcorn, 2015 fall, redshirt freshman year, under Fred McNair. coaching. It was Coach Hobson at the time, the head coach. But yeah, started there. And then the OC, Coach Kais, he would mention that because I was, one of the bigger quarterbacks that we had. Wasn't the tallest, but was, definitely bigger. Um, so the same size of the tight ends that we had. So they, thought about it. Hey, you want to, catch some passes? So in my redshirt time during, in season, when they would have me running scout team, it was me and sometimes two other quarterbacks. So it's like you can only get so many reps. Why not just go run routes or go block and just help out where you can help out. Help the defense get better. And that's what I did. Put my hand in the dirt a couple times, blocked a little bit, caught a couple passes. Enough to where the defense got a little upset, but not too crazy. But to the point where they wanted to, tackle us. I'm like, we're scout team quarterbacks. We're supposed to get hit. I'm expected to get hit, but they never really did that. So came out healthy.
So did you do you like one more than the other in terms of offense versus defense?
Offense kind of stopped doing defense after freshman year in high school.
Mhm.
You know, body was changing, coming into myself and things like that. So I was able to get back on path to, be the quarterback that I wanted to be. So just focus all my efforts and energy on offense and trying to win starting jobs wherever I was.
So at one point, you and your brother were playing together in college, right? Or on the same team at least.
Correct.
So
So
how was
after
it?
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead.
So after I left Alcorn, had my mind made up. Then had to enter the transfer portal. You know how that go. And the head coach at New Mexico Highlands at the time remembered me because he was a position coach from Indiana State.
Mhm.
Um, Still had that connection. Like I say, remember me from Indiana State from when I was in high school. Had that connection with my brother. My brother was able to talk to him. I talked to the head coach. Next thing I know, that following spring, 2016, I was there in New Mexico with my brother getting ready to start spring ball. And I'm just like, wow, like this, like we're about to do the things that we always talked about in high school.
And so how was that? Like, was it some pressure? Did you feel like, you had somebody to look up to, so it made the experience a little bit better? What was that like, just actually living out one of your dreams?
It was both. The pressure was there because, not only did I want to be great for me, I wanted to be great for him. Um, not being able to win that starting job my first year, uh, it set things back, but it opened up an opportunity for me to still be on the field with him because come that first game, I was actually the starting Z at receiver while he was the starting X. And as the season progressed, we ended up on both sides of the field. So I was able to block for him, do all type of things. We were able to celebrate in the end zone together, still do all those things. I just wasn't throwing the ball to him. I was just, catching balls next to him. So
Oh, wow. So that it's like a full circle moment for you. I know your mom's probably very like proud just to see both of her sons, both her older sons playing together in that moment. And so, um, how was it like transitioning from Alcorn to New Mexico, like culture wise? Was it any different? Because Alcorn is an HBCU, so um that's self-explanatory in itself. Was there any differences in terms of playing for Alcorn versus in New Mexico?
oh, huge. When we got to Alcorn, heavy run pass offense, RPO. Um, read option, read the, basically read the strong side safety, throw behind his head type of offense,
Mhm.
throw downfield, spread the field out, spread offense type deal. So when I got to New Mexico, it was more pro style with the offensive coordinator we had. Um, he came from Michigan, so we were kind of running similar things that they were running. But big difference on the field, culture-wise, diversity-wise, campus size, like everything is literally the complete opposite. You go from where it's green, tall trees to where it's brown and a lot of dust, and you got tumbleweed coming across the street sometimes. So big culture change. No culture shock for me. I was ready to step into whatever New Mexico had to offer. So,
But now let me ask you this, because it sounds like how you really really know like the game of football, because you have people that just play, but how much of it is mental and knowledge as much as it is athleticism? Like, make how much of it is knowing the game and actually understanding the plays and the film and all that? How much of that goes into you being a great player?
as much as you have to get in shape and just condition, work out on the field, memory, is still, as much as you put into that, you have to put the same amount or more into your mental, because body follows mind.
Mm-hmm.
So just having all that on your mind, especially at the quarterback position, it's sometimes challenging. You got to know where everyone needs to be. You got to know what checks to make, what reads to make pre, post snap. So it's, that's why the great ones are where they are now. They're able to do that. And a lot of times, more times than not, those that are disciplined and can do and are stronger mentally surpass those who are more athletic.
Mm.
You know, a lot of coaches we obviously use those that are athletic, but when it comes to that mental, you got to be able to think quickly, correctly, and no matter what position you play, you got to put the team in the best position to win.
Right. And so, what do you think got you to where you are now, like from the college level to the IFL? What do you think was that big key point that got you there? Of course, like we talked about, size, athleticism, playing multiple positions, knowing the game. What do you think was that it factor for you?
For me, I feel it was my last season in college. Without that, being able to put up the numbers that I did and kind of actually end the season, on a high note, kind of helps because, okay, what did he do last season? What is he coming from? Because I literally went in 2021, finished my last game in November, early November. That March, April, I was on the field in the IFL. A lot of people sit back and they wait that year. They go through their pro day, they go through their bowl games if they're invited or however, whatever their journey is. And their calendar, their clock is running down when, you have an opportunity to go into the IFL to continue to develop, continue to get film. It's not the traditional method that everybody's used to hearing. I
Right.
mean, yeah, so for me, it was that straight from college to IFL. Still working, still pushing. I'm going on, just finished my second season, so signed back for a third, and I'm gonna keep going.
So, how did you end up in the IFL? Like, why the IFL? I know there's the NFL, we have USFL, XFL, we have all these different leagues now that maybe 5, maybe even 5 years ago, we didn't have all these options. So, why or how did you end up in the IFL, and why did you feel like that was like a good fit for you?
Well, those that are in the NFL, they're in the NFL for a reason. Those that made it to the USFL, XFL, they're there for a reason. When you're in the IFL, you're there for a reason. It's just that there's only 53 men on the active roster in the NFL. So if you don't make that roster, you're kind of like pick of the litter for those, those next tier leagues. And then for me, that just like out of college, there was, I would hear there's interest, but never a full offer or invite or anything like that. And for me, it was just, I need to get more film. So kind of like a blessing, just, for me being able to step into the IFL the way I did, especially being 2 hours away from the IFL team, didn't even know that existed until, my senior journey began.
Hmm.
And, I sent the head coach my information, came in for an invite. Next thing I know, I'm playing starting game two in the IFL. So the rest is history.
So what was it that kept you pushing and motivated? Like, did you ever get a little bit discouraged? Like you mentioned a couple of times they'll look, but they wouldn't necessarily extend an offer. Like, how was that like for you coming through high school and college and just, knowing that you're good enough, you always believed in yourself, but just didn't have that full check mark. So was there ever any doubt or any question in your mind, or any discouragement, or how did you handle that?
Yeah, there was that. It's like, okay, what am I missing? You gotta do a reality check. You gotta self-evaluate. You gotta get evaluated by, a second pair of eyes, whatever it may be. Um, and that was told to me. And when you're given that information, is what you do with that information. Are you going to continue to put your best foot forward? Are you going to improve yourself? What are you going to do? What steps are you going to take, you know, to show that's no longer a weakness and now it's a strength? What coaching can you take? What criticism can you take to make yourself better? Um, with the Definitely with the coaching I had last year, I improved a lot. Like I've been able to mature in the game a lot, so much more than what it was from college and my first season. And a lot of other players, they hit that maturity level a lot sooner, when they're going to different programs, when they're coming up through different systems and things like that.
Now, how much of your like support system and having a support system helped you through your journey?
Plays, it's like you're doing this for them, but you have to do it for you more. Right? Because if you're not doing it for you, you're slowly digressing,
Mm,
and you don't want to do that. But support is huge, because if you don't have that, I feel you're going to find yourself, okay, why am I doing this now? Like, yeah, you need those that are going to push you for when you can't push yourself,
right.
because that's going to generate that self motivation, so you can build that intrinsic value in your own self. So support system is huge. No matter if it comes from family, other players, past coaches, those who see it in you when you can't see it yourself sometimes.
All right, he's dropping gems, y'all. So let's get back to the IFL really quickly. So talk about just your journey so far, your experience, playing with different guys, playing in a professional league, again, something you've dreamt about since a child. Talk about your journey so far and just the game itself and just, traveling and competing against other people and things like that.
Oh, I love it. The football world is small. It's so small. All kinds of people have came through the IFL, tons of talent, um, tons of, man, well-coached players, great coaches. For me, the biggest thing was, first thing I heard, it's a fast-paced game. I'm like, okay, how fast-paced can it really be? I'm talking about first tryout, first practice. They kind of just like let me get the feel for it. But then after that next day, when I came back for a second day, it was like, okay, I make one throw, you're late, speed yourself up.
Mhm.
You're late, speed yourself up. Trying to transition that, like, having a lot more touch on your passes. Tone like you can't throw it as firm. You can throw it firm, but you can't throw it as hard as you would outdoor passes, so it can get there. Field's a lot shorter. It's a quarter of the size of a normal football field.
Mm.
So everything is really right there, from a slant being maybe 20 yards away, or 25 yards away, coming from outside receiver, to now your outside receiver is basically in the slot.
Mm.
So is that was the biggest thing. Touch and just speeding yourself up. Now, like, even in speeding yourself up in every way, your drop, your reads, getting the ball out of your hands quickly, um, being accurate, like all that you have to fine tune those things to be able to play in the IFL as a quarterback. Because if you go step back out, like I did when I was back out, like in the off season, just throwing the football, I'm like, dang, like I feel like I can't unleash my arm like I would before, because I had to adjust to the indoor game.
Mm.
So you gotta, find that balance in between. Um, and then after that, my very first play in the IFL is just, they always tell me, that wall is undefeated. Um, that turf is kind of too. So first play, I had a big bruise, big knot on my knee for probably 4 or 5 weeks from the first play. I'm just like, that's my welcome to the IFL right there. So it's been life changing.
So you've had 2 successful seasons so far. Um, do you have any plans to, like, you gonna stay in the IFL for a little bit, or any plans of looking to cross over into the NFL, or what's in your future? Where do you see yourself in the next maybe 3 to 5 years?
Still playing the game that I love. You know, that's why the IFL is here. It's a developmental league. So if I'm still developing, I'm still developing. And then it's coming to the point where, okay, like I'm 3 years out of playing outdoors.
Mhm.
There are classes that are continuously graduating. The number of prospects that are being looked at just continues to grow and grow. So how can I still separate myself, to be unique in a sense, right?
Mhm.
Um, but still playing the game that I love, um, and being basically using this game to open up other career opportunities. Because, like I said, the football world is very, very small. The amount of people you meet is it's amazing.
So is there anything you would do differently on your journey, or any advice that you would give to someone coming behind you? Maybe something you would have done differently, or just something like, hey, you know, any motivation or anything like that.
Probably the best thing I could say is literally play every snap like it's your last, because it could be. Um, I had a self-reflecting moment in one of my bowl games, and I'm just like, if this was my last game, I would be hurt,
Mm.
right? But still blessed with the opportunity to play, blessed with, my health, play, use every snap like it could be your last, because it can be. When you get in these leagues, you're gonna have players that are, you're gonna see it a lot more in these leagues, because you're gonna have players that's gonna retire. You're gonna have players that's gonna have game season sport ending injuries.
Mhm.
When you get in the IFL, your injury rate goes up
Mhm.
because
Right.
surface you play on, where you are, things like that. Um, but just take care of yourself and really play. Treat every down, treat every snap, every workout like it's your last, because you're blessed to be doing this.
Let me ask you. We're gonna switch gears a little bit. I know this is going into like the second year of the NILs. which wasn't around when you were in school, which is only a year or two difference, really, a couple year difference. So, what are your thoughts on that now, just knowing like college kids can have the opportunity to start making money at the collegiate level?
It's game changing. I haven't really thought about it in a very long time. The NILs, it's great. I just don't want it to take away from football too much.
Mm.
It's kind of giving back because yeah, like, depending on the program, you're generating